How's it going, YouTube? Happy Friday. Hopefully, wherever and whenever you're at, you're having a good one. I always want to try to pass along some positive vibes in some capacity before I start whining, moaning, groaning, complaining, or prognosticating in my videos. So I really do sincerely hope wherever and whenever you're at, things are going well for you. But that's about the end of the good vibes for the moment. One thing that's been sticking in my craw for most of the week, I came across this story about, was it 2-3 days ago now, of this Dutch girl who essentially is scheduled to be euthanized, voluntarily euthanized, at some point in the month of May 2024, in case you watch this in 2034 for all I know. And it's not because she has a terminal illness or because she has a debilitating disease in which her quality of life is so reduced because there is no cure or effective treatment for her condition that euthanasia is considered a humane alternative. It's because she's very sad. She basically is just very, very depressed. And so she's decided she wants to go ahead and make a permanent checkout, go for the deep six, the permanent dirt nap, groundhogs are bringing her mail kind of situation. And I personally think she's a fool. That's my opinion. Some folks will probably, if they bother to reply at all, they'll probably sound off in the comments like, you're insensitive, you're terrible, you're awful, depression's a real disease, it's a real illness. I'm not saying it's not. However, depression is one of those things where there are remedies for it beyond medication. Now, we've lost some very good people to depression, Robin Williams most notably, so I'm not trying to belittle the true deleterious effects of depression, but if you're so depressed you believe your only alternative is to off yourself, reach out to somebody, get help, talk to somebody who's not going to let you just check out because you're super sad. There is some way, somehow, somewhen, there is a solution for you that is not suicide. Don't kill yourself because you're sad. Someone out there loves you enough to try to help you however they can. It may not be the right help, but they'll try. So don't give in to that notion that death is your only true escape or relief from the big sad. There are alternative solutions. Believe me. My tie to that is about 6 years ago now, I lost my job. I was laid off. It wasn't a high-paying job, but it came at a very unfortunate time where things were already kind of squirrely for me. And at one moment when I was sitting down looking at my situation, trying to figure out what I could do, what my options were, it hit me that I was pretty much in a crucible. I was at an inflection point. I was at a moment of extraordinary high pressure, and I really did feel like that's the point at which some folks decide to, kill themselves. The moment of just absolute despair and bottoming out, where you literally decide you've only got two choices. Option one is to just give up and check out. Or option two, which is you do something about it. I did something about it. Now I'm an owner-operator of a semi-truck. I have my own operating authority. And despite the fact that the economic woes for the North American continent are, shall we say, special, and maybe getting even more special, I still believe that I'm going to make it as a businessman. Even if I fail, I'm still going to be okay. I'm not going to check out prematurely just because the going got real tough. That's not what you do. That's not perseverance. That's just surrender. And I didn't come this far to surrender. And so if I can make it this far, 6 years after my inflection point, you can too. I believe in you. Because looking ahead, past this point, we have the eclipse this coming Monday, which is going to be a pretty amazing event. I witnessed the last one in 2017 in my grandmother's house in Southern Illinois. And the plan is to get down there again on Sunday in order to take in this one with family on Monday. It's going to be pretty special. Hopefully we don't have any kind of overcast situation come in last second and kind of rain on the parade, so to speak. But once we get through the eclipse, and I plan not to be working at all until next Wednesday, just to allow traffic and situations around traffic to just normalize, stabilize, and post-eclipse travel to, get back to sanity. The economic situations can still go either way. There really is no clear indication of what is or is not going to happen for the rest of 2024. There are still some people saying that oil could spike up over $300 a barrel, over $400 a barrel, $500 a barrel in some cases. And if that happens, we will see $6, $7, $8, $9, $10 diesel, which will send freight rates either into the toilet and collapse U.S. logistics, or what's going to happen is rates will come up enough to offset the cost of fuel, but we'll still have the same crappy margins we're dealing with. We'll just be able to, theoretically, pay our fuel bills. Theoretically. So by no means are we out of the woods yet, because as I've spoken about before, every economic indicator that is available so far does not have a healthy outlook for the U.S. economy. But it must be noted, those same economic indicators don't really have a true idea of what's coming next. What could happen next could be an inevitable upturn as people figure out how to make money and get things moving again, or it could all go straight to hell. And it really won't matter what anyone does, because, well, that'll be the next real big depression. Not a great recession like we had in 07, 08, but we're talking, 29, 30, 31, Dust Bowl kind of situation where it's bad everywhere and no one's having a good time. So that's kind of where I think we're headed. We don't know where we're going to end up being, and I don't think we're going to find out for real until we get there. However, despite that, I still have hope. Because what is the point of trying, as it were, without hope? And to tie back into where I started with this video with that Dutch girl who I think is an idiot for checking out early, she's allowed herself to become hopeless for no reason whatsoever. Because some backstory on her is she had some high hopes for herself. She wanted to be, she wanted to get into psychiatry and work in those fields, but she didn't bother to finish school, or decided not to finish school. She failed out. She just decided to stop going to school. She decided to stop continuing her education in that field, and just kind of sort of stopped and turned in on herself, and now she's on her way to the permanent dirt nap. So I have to, based on the information available in the articles written about her situation, I can only assume, and again, I'm assuming here, that because the reality of the educational requirements for her preferred professional field weren't, super easy for her probably, or there was some other factor that, didn't make it like it was, a cakewalk for her, and she just decided it got too hard and she gave up. Because she was disinclined to find a way to focus and get through an alternative option, she just got sad and checked out. So I really don't have any way to excuse that. I don't really have any way to speak positively about that, because again, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, it boggles my mind, because when I hit a sad point, I made major life changes. Yeah, they haven't worked out like the way I hoped they would, but there's still a really good chance that if I can make it through all the economic mayhem that may or may not be coming, inevitably, things are going to be good. Boy, oh boy, I tell you what, things are going to be real good, because no matter what, doesn't matter who you talk to or how you slice it, the only way things move in the U.S. is they, at some point along their journey from point of origin to their end user, they end up on a truck, whatever it is. Doesn't matter if it's big, small, in between. Components of that thing itself, or the materials that make up the components that make up that thing, doesn't matter what it is. It all ends up on a truck somehow, somewhere. And people can talk about, oh, we're going to have AI trucks, we're going to have the Internet of Things on trucks, we're going to have fully autonomous 18-wheelers, and truck drivers will be a thing of the past. No, we won't. We're not going anywhere. Not for the next 30 years at least. Not just because the technology isn't there yet, but because the complexity of an 18-wheeler and the need to make moment-by-moment assessments of roads, as well as driving conditions, as well as how the truck feels, as well as just a myriad other criteria and stimuli that are all happening on a subconscious, instinctive level, is not something that software is going to be at all, software and sensors will be able to adequately represent and replicate in order to ensure that the traveling public will be safe around these autonomous vehicles. Which is why, because they haven't had those big breakthroughs to actually make these things happen, a lot of the venture capitalists have pulled out of these ventures. I've talked about this in other videos, and I know other YouTube channels have covered this as well. So the outlook for the trucking industry inevitably is good. Short-term, crap. Long-term, cakes and cheeses. Just got to get through the short term in order to enjoy the long term. And again, if you're like me, an owner-operator, whether you've got 1 truck, 3 trucks, 10 trucks, as long as you can manage yourself properly, and as long as things don't get out of hand, you can make it. You've got a chance. It's not the end of the road for you. Some of us, unfortunately, will not make it. And unfortunately, for those who don't make it, that is better for the rest of us who grit our teeth and just make it happen. So it's kind of 6 to 1, half dozen of the other. It's a bit of positive hope for some of us and some unfortunate news or realization for the rest of us, which is not a position I really want to have, but I have to be brutally honest at the same time, because the industry needs to right size capacity-wise, and only way that happens is if truckers stop trucking, fleets go out of business, people get off the road, and also, people stop taking dirt cheap freight and keep rates depressed. Because as soon as rates have to go up because no one's moving freight, that's when we'll see change start to happen. Don't even get me started on the EV trucks. Those are dead in the water. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. With that being said, YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the eclipse. If you're traveling and working during that time period, I wish you luck and safe travels, and I will see you down the road.